Hello, everybody. Welcome back to today's weather tonight. I'm Cloud Hudson. I'm going to be your meteorologist host for the evening, and I'm going to give y'all a little bit of info about what's happening with our current weather. Let's see. I would like to do a little experiment at the beginning here. I want to see if I can call myself up on this. I've got a second monitor now. So I want to see if I can get myself up on here and monitor my sound level at all. Is that possible? It's loading. Streaming from here up into the ether sphere to... Is it working? How am I sounding? It looks like it should be wide. What is the sound sounding like? What is the sound sounding like? Oh, yes, I have to get my playback to be on. I have to get playback for the sound to come out of the speakers. Of the monitor. Oh, actually, that sounds great. Okay. Well, it doesn't sound great. Let's get the gain up just a little bit. Okay. How about that? All right. It might be a little bit too sensitive now, but now I won't have to feel. Okay. How about now? Yeah, that's better. Okay. All right. Welcome back to the stream. Okay. We're actually starting now. Okay, I'm going to turn off this other look at my stream and bring the slides up. Okay. So, today's weather tonight. In our first news, I'm pretty sure the sun watched our broadcast yesterday, and here's why. So here's the sun. You know, you see it, you love it. It's the little matches my hair in this one. I think I think that the sun was in resonance with us last night, and here's why. Because look at this. We've been like hovering at C-class flare level activity, and then last night, right as we went live, we had this M-class flare event happen. And there we go. We had this M-class flare event happen, and it happened right at 8:50 p.m. And if you can see, I went live at 8:50 p.m. You can see the little like I hovered on the peak of when that M3.8 solar flare happened last night, and it was right when we went live. So what I think happens is that when I perceive the world through a growth mindset, the sun flares. I know that's hard to, it happens for all of us too. It's not just me. So that's why it's so hard to predict, because all of us, all of our soul inspiration kind of like determines when the sun is going to flare. So it's, yeah, let's go. Oh, no. Basically, that's all I wanted to say with that one was, I'm working on a theory where, yeah, I believe that when resonance of like living right, like when you take an action and it happens right when a solar flare happens, I think that's a sign that that is in line with what the sun is trying to upgrade us to. Now, that doesn't always mean it's the right thing to do, but it is in line with the future. I don't think there's a moral emphasis on future and past inherently, but the sun is giving us energetic upgrades of what the future is going to be. And I think that that means that this stream is, this show, this broadcast is in line with the future. Not that that means something good or bad, just it's future minded. So speaking of which, man versus machine, or nature versus machine. I think that last night I talked to you guys about what a cutoff low is and why people are freaking out about snow this weekend in the Northeast. There's already been snow over in the West. But why are people making a big news cycle about this? Well, first of all, it's at the beginning of the year and they want a big bang of a news story to come out. Second of all, the model guidance. Now, what forecast models are really numerical model guidance. I'm on live right now. Numerical model guidance. Yes, that was my mom. I live with my parents. I'm down here in the basement. You know, it's just what it is. So it's just guidance, right? It's guiding us along the path of what things have been. Like, if things keep going the way they have been, this is how things will go in the future. But all the way things have been haven't had this much warming sea surface temperatures baked into them yet. So what I got on screen is just a screen grab of what Null Earth is showing right now of the sea surface temperature anomaly map. And like red, yellow is higher than average for this time of year, and blue is lower than average for this time of year. If you can see, almost entirely globally, almost all of the ocean temperatures are above average for this time of year, except for we see those little bands of blue right near, like between Iceland and Greenland, and then also in the West Coast and right along the Gulf of Mexico, like the waters bordering the eastern United States are very cold right at the coast, and then they go into a band of warm, and then they go into a band of cold again. And that kind of indicates where there's overturning and warm air and cool air percolating vertically in the ocean. But it also really shows like what this is just the surface temperature. The cold water would be where it's upwelled, and the warm water is where it's taking atmospheric heat and sinking it into the ocean. What this should show us, though, is that with an anomaly map, you want to see like a good, like even balance of above and below average for things to be average. We're just way above average across the board everywhere. So when this new cutoff low swings down like a bowling ball across the United States and scoops up some Gulf of Mexico moisture into the Northeast United States, it's going to swing back out like as it's going here, it'll swing back out around into the Atlantic and pick up that moisture and shove it back on shore in the Northeast. But what's making this different and what's going to be so interesting for forecast verification for this is that the sea surface temperatures are really high still. Our tropical season did not dissipate the heat in the Gulf of Mexico very well. And so I don't know if that cold bowling ball that scoops up moisture is going to stay cold enough, because as it's like scooping up moisture, that is a chemical process. It's not even a reaction. It's a latent heat release and absorption. The cold air comes down and scoops up moisture at the expense of its own thermal value. Like, it'll lose the cold as it gets wet. Kind of. It'll cool off the Gulf of Mexico by way of scooping up its water. And that happens at the expense of heat. Okay, anyway, I'll get better diagrams for explaining that later. But all I really wanted to talk about with that was like this little Neapolitan ice cream sandwich of sea surface temperature anomalies off the coast of New England spells trouble for forecasters that rely heavily on numerical modeling in their forecasting. I think that the models are not going to know how to handle what's happening off the coast very well. But this will be a really interesting case for examining how our modeling is holding up to changing seasonal holdovers, like as the thermal baseline rises. Okay. Next, speaking of thermal baseline, I wanted to show you guys a picture of the infrared satellite and like a composite map of the satellite with the mid-layer air relative humidities. Okay. Gosh, I want 2 hands for this. This is why I need it. Link in the description for supporting me on coffee. What I'm showing here is the 700 to 500 millibar layer of the atmosphere. The layer of the atmosphere where we're between 700 millibars of pressure and 500 millibars pressure. This is like the cloud zone, and mean relative humidity for this entire layer will average out the relative humidity vertically in that column of air everywhere across the map. And so basically it's seeing how much juice is in this chunk. It's not precipitable water. Precipitable water would be measuring how much of this relative humidity is actually available given the other conditions, what could actually turn into water that precipitates. That's different than what I'm showing here. The green lines on the map, the green contour lines on this map are showing where there's 70% and above relative humidity. That's where there's like, if everything else works, there's enough water there to make rain clouds. And you can see on the map how that kind of like, it's on the backside of the clouds, but it is wind forward. So like the wind comes from the west, pushing this. I should do it from this. Wind comes from the west, pushing this front across. This is where all the moisture matters for this. We're scooping up moisture too, but anyway, what I was trying to show with this is that even though it's not raining over the middle plains of the United States right now, and all the severe weather focus. Oh, I forgot to put a slide in that there is a severe weather focus here tonight in the Gulf states, in like New Orleans to Florida area, Panhandle, and all the southern states, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, have a very high chance of severe storms tonight, but not like a high chance of thunderstorms. Anyway, juicy air in the middle of the atmosphere means that if there's enough vertical motion and energy from other processes happening, that could get squeezed. Like the high relative humidity air kind of floats along in this parcel, and it's the other processes in the atmosphere that squeeze it out to get it to be a rain cloud. Anyway, the juicy air feeds the clouds. I don't know what else I wanted to say with that. Next, earthquakes persist in Japan and possibly spread. What I've got there in the top image is just from yesterday to today, how many earthquakes there have been on the Honshu Peninsula of Japan still. Like, there's still earthquakes happening after we had that big 7.5 New Year's Day earthquake. We've still had, it's kind of gone in a little like, a little circle like this. Like, if you go animate that map, and I will figure out how to put animated GIFs in my slides soon, but I'm not quite there yet with my stream upgrading journey. They go offshore, and like the maps start, the earthquakes that I've got on this map start onshore, go offshore, kind of curve around at the edge of the plate boundary. That yellow line is the plate boundary, and come back onshore, and they circled around that original earthquake point. So I don't know. I have a feeling that maybe we're not done in Japan. There might be some more coming. So we'll have to follow Dutch Sense and see if he predicts earthquakes there and what they will be. There's also, in the second image there have been equidistantly spaced across the planet, similar depth and magnitude earthquakes. Oh, I put 10 meters. I meant 10 kilometers. Did I mean 10 kilometers or 10 meters? I think I said, 10 kilometers. I put meters on the slideshow, but I meant to say 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers depth and 4.5 magnitude. There have been 3 that match, and they're all like forked out like a prong from like Japan, Tajikistan, and Albania. And those 3 equidistant spaced earthquakes indicate a like wave pattern moving across. You can even see in the plate boundaries on this that those points are kind of like peaks in a waveform of a wavy formed plate boundary. Like, it peaks up here at that Afghanistan, Tajikistan, northern India, western China boundary, and then it peaks again at that 8-shaped plate boundary over in Japan. And then there's also a peak over here where Greece, Albania, Turkey, and then there's also a little Greece and Albania, and then there's also another point in Turkey and also another point in Iran. So there's like, but those are the ones that I'm looking at that like there's definitely a wave going, and I don't know, possibly there will be more earthquakes into Iceland now. I feel like that would be the next spot along this waveform, would be a shallow quake at 10 meters, 10 kilometers depth, a 4.5 magnitude, 10 kilometer deep wave should happen from somewhere between the British Isles and Iceland soon. So with that, let's move on to our astrology weather. Today's astro weather looks like we're chugging along. We're chugging right along in this new year. It's a Friday. It's Venus's day. It's currently, what even hour and minute are we in? Let's see. Venus rules Friday. Freya, Venus, Friday, Frey's day. We're in a Jupiter hour currently. I was hoping that I would do a Venus day, a Jupiter hour, and that would look sexy and be very growthful. I don't know. I do have candles lit in the background just to give, and UV light, just to give y'all a little something special, because it's a Friday night. This transit energy that we got going on here, I think that what jumps out at me today is Mars is in Capricorn now. Yay. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and is also looking at a sextile with Saturn, who is the ruler of Capricorn. So I want to think that they're playing nicely. Mars in Capricorn is applying to a trine with Jupiter in Taurus, which are both sextiling that Saturn in Pisces. So I'm looking forward to really concretizing what Jupiter in Taurus has been doing here this whole time. With this, I think that like once Mars hits that 5, 4, 3, 3, 4, 5 degree, where it'll be making that nice little little wedge with, not wedge, I forget what the shape name is with two sextiles and a trine, but like it'll do that nice little easy pattern with Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. That feels like we're really gonna have some like get it done, do some good shit energy. The next transit I have identified here, Jupiter in Taurus opposes the moon in Scorpio. So we're not doing this all out of functionality. Let's try not to get too hoardy in our victim consciousness. Oh yeah, for the last one I said, we got the gifts. Now what do we do with them? Like we just did that great big, I see Sagittarius into Capricorn season as like the Holly King into the Ivy King, and the Holly King and the Oak King, really. And going from like celebration time to like keep our spirits up while it's darkening to buckle down. Now we got the rest of winter to go through. We're past the halfway point, but we still got to make it all the way back out. So we got those gifts of the hope getting us through winter. Now, what do we do with them? What do we do with them means Mars in Capricorn, Sun squaring Chiron. I want to bring us to that. Let's just go through one at a time. Jupiter and Taurus opposing Moon and Scorpio. Try not to get hoardy in our victim consciousness. We just got the gifts, so now let's not hoard them. Let's use them. Let's put them into practice. Otherwise, why did they come into our lives? And let's really, truly let go of what we are supposed to be letting go of right now. I don't know if I know how to do that, but I'm sure that it's the lesson. So, we got to trust that things will flow in perfect timing in order to let go and let them flow out. Scorpio moon feels like it's owed, entitled, and in her bag, while Jupiter in Taurus secures the bag, is very like, it is materially happening. We got it. And material circumstances changing for you while she's co-present with Uranus there. I think the more you secure, the more pull you'll feel to keep the abundance moving. So like feeling this success and forward motion and like material abundance of Jupiter and Taurus opposed by a moon in Scorpio has been really like, what do I owe to each other? What do we owe to each other? What do other people think they're owed from me? What do I feel like I'm owed from other people? What do I feel entitled to? I really like entitlement is what I'm getting from this Scorpio moon. And how do we process our entitlement and other people's entitlement when it comes to a material change in our current circumstances? Sun in Capricorn square Chiron in Aries, imposter syndrome is what it's giving me. Sun applying to Uranus sextile is the way out. So once that Sun makes it over to about 19 degrees Taurus, 20 degrees Taurus, I think we'll be able to see the way that we are changing the world with our information, like the information we're currently getting that makes us run the imposter syndrome programming in our brain is information that is soon going to make us feel like we're making a difference and making a change in the world and finding our light and like finding our medicine, finding our mission or message to the world. But like currently it's making us feel like we're too different, we're too wrong, we don't fit in, like, and that's giving us the impression that we don't seem to be getting the same output when we give the same input, so something must be wrong with us. But that's not true. We're just different. And so we get different outputs when we give the same inputs that other people are doing. I think this is all going to work together. Like, if we just keep plugging away at this, I'm using this channel for an example. I'm like so certain that this is going to work, but it's not going to work right away. I have to be consistently here doing these updates every day in order to have a baseline for like, there's going to be big news and I need to have my workflow solid for once the big news happens. But right now, I'm just in the workflow, loving the juicy little details of every part of the workflow. So hopefully you guys can see that on my stream. Hopefully you can see my production quality getting better. Hopefully you can see, my slides getting more direct, and hopefully I really hope that like I'll get some reps in and get some practice, and then we'll be ready to see. I just have a feeling this spring and summer is going to be such an interesting time. And I mean, even this weekend will be an interesting time, but I'm really in the practice mode right now. And you guys can be in the practice mode of practicing, engaging in the comments, practicing loving yourselves, practicing being delighted with the world. That's what I really want everyone to practice, is practice being delighted with the world. While I practice streaming, you practice sitting there and resonating with yourself and with whatever the world has for you, because it's really awesome when you get to, like, I feel like I'm finally doing something right. Feels really good. I'm very excited. I'm glad you guys are with me. It's not coffee, it's water. Let's do a little energy reading. I'm not even going to clear the air, honestly, because I want to go with the energy that I've had this whole time. Slowly finding the rush and the urge and the urgency go away, and finding delight in the sensual pleasures of the material activities that goes on with this streaming endeavor. It is not my work to control others. Okay. Trying to limit anybody about anything defies the laws of the universe. It cannot be done. You cannot control others, but you can control and create your own reality. That's what I'm trying to do here. It's what we're trying to do here. I'm so looking forward to inducing resonance with people who are creating their own reality. I hope I am right now already. I really like the energy. I'm trying not to get disappointed with myself when I slip back into feeling of urgency. Yeah. All right. That'll do it for tonight. Love you guys.